Welcome to Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, where we dive into the strategies that empower changemaker brands to leave a lasting legacy. Think of this podcast as your audio playbook for meaningful action. What's possible when thought leaders, disruptors, and pioneers align to share their journeys? I'm Felicia Ford, your host, bringing together the brightest minds and the most groundbreaking ideas to help you drive change, navigate through the sticky stuff, and elevate your brand. Whether you're tackling funding hurdles, looking for growth strategies, or seeking the perfect balance between profit and purpose, we've got you covered. Stay tuned and be a part of a movement that's setting new benchmarks in how we think about progress, community, and doing. Let's innovate, impact, and inspire. Hey friends, welcome back. I have a special guest with me today. I wanted to share, so if you've been putting in the work, pouring everything into your mission, yet progress seems like it's moving in slow motion, the frustration can be real when your efforts feel like they're just hitting a wall. So today, we're sitting down with Desiah Barnett, a visionary in tech education and youth empowerment, from her journey through foster care to becoming a force in tech. Desiah is going to talk to us about how resilience and focus can break cycles of poverty and transform lives. I know that's a buzzword that's used, but I've really seen what happens with some of these youth who are exiting foster care and changing the way the world works for those that are coming behind them. Our conversation today is exploring how Desiah is helping to reshape lives and opening doors that seemed forever shut. So if you've wondered why your impact feels out of reach, I want you to be encouraged by Desiah's story, because she's going to show you how the power of focused attention and relentless commitment leads to deep impact. Desiah Barnett's journey from foster care to founder of Core Hack and lead instructor at the Knowledge House has paved a way. Her mission to empower foster and incarcerated youth through tech education is not just a professional pursuit for her, it's deeply personal. And so after overcoming her own challenges, including navigating various jobs and securing tech education while living in temporary housing, she's now at the forefront of bridging this digital divide. Through the programs and hands-on mentorship, Desiah is providing a clear path to success for the next generation of tech leaders. And specifically, she and her team have taught youth in New York tech skills to help them out of poverty. Desiah, I am so excited to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you
so
so
good to
much.
see you. And I have to say, like, for those of you who, watch the video, um, and, who go online and see the photos, you have to see how familiar this face looks. We look like we could be long lost cousins. I don't know. But
I
this is
agree.
our first time meeting. And I'm so happy to have you here, Desire.
I'm grateful, Felicia. Thank you for having me. I was excited about
Yes,
today.
I
So
am too. I am too. So you have a very bright smile. I know that that has likely come with some not so bright experiences, but you've been on this journey from foster care to now leading us to this tech academy. Um, I cannot skip over that part of your story, right?
yeah,
So I'd love for you to share with us Desire then to Desire now. Like I'm sure it's a lot of things there, but what would you like to share with us today about what led you to this moment?
well, what led me to this moment was the fact that it's just been very difficult for me without family support, close, intimate support, right? And it's the individuals that honestly I would say the Most High has brought me. And it's been through government agencies, like even, you know, being in foster care was like a huge part of my life, like changing as a childhood. I went from being in a home with an alcoholic mom and a negligent mom. And when I got into foster care, it was a plan, a
Yeah.
plan towards my freedom and my liberation.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had my grandmother, she was supporting me emotionally because she couldn't do it physically. So she said, Desiah, listen, I'm going to help you, but it's in a non-traditional way, which is so crazy, right?
Yeah.
You would think
Yeah.
your grandmother would take you in, but she couldn't at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I got with my substitute teacher at the time, who was like a mother figure in my life as well. And the impact from both of them built me strong and resilient. Like, hey, we're going to be here for you. That will require you separating from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
But understand that if this is a choice that you want to make, that will never leave you.
Yeah.
So I made that call to the hotline. I got tired.
Yeah.
I got tired. My toilet was stopping up. I couldn't use the bathroom. I had PTSD from cleaning one spot at a time because she was physically abusive, and I just couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew since a little girl that God was preparing me for something huge. I knew it because I felt that I felt spirit around me. So I just knew. So I just executed because it was like within, and it was the
Oh.
best thing that ever happened to me. I literally got into foster care. I ended up at the United Methodist Children's Home in Decatur, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm originally from New York. So my mom has separated from my stepfather and moved us to Atlanta. And that's when I started seeing there was mental health in the family. I didn't, you're young, you don't know nothing about this. And I had an older sister who wasn't really involved, and we don't have a relationship, like
Mm-hmm.
a close relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So she never like prepped me for anything.
Right.
Um, So it was just pretty much me going through the system. When I got placed and I ended up at Avondale High School, I ended up being class president of my ninth
Wow.
class.
Wow.
And it was that moment when I looked at Judge Crawford, who was the head judge for, I believe was Superior Court, Stone Mountain, or DeKalb County at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just me becoming class president boosted my self-esteem. I was like, oh yeah, I could do this,
Yeah.
right? I could do this. So I ended up getting involved, and I was like, all right, so let me get involved with more curriculum activities. Got into JROTC Air Force. I was like bumped up to second lieutenant my 10th grade year. And that's why I have like the assertiveness that I have, because it just feels like, Black women, we have to like stand on business when it comes to things. We have to advocate for ourselves. So being in JROTC, like, taught me integrity and just how to be a stand-up individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of youth in my position, like, they just have no guidance.
Mm-hmm.
They get involved with a lot of different things. And God, I was so close to God that I just knew that there was someone else guiding me. So I never was truly alone. Um, so fast forward, I went through a lot, just trying to have a relationship with my mom and coming back and forth to New York. And it like put a damper on my mental health. And Atlanta kind of sucked because I was in the music industry before tech. So from, working with music executives and interning at music studios and Mean Streets and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things, that wasn't where I truly wanted to be. And it was made evident that I didn't belong because, when it comes to that industry, you got to belong.
You,
And
you yes.
yeah, you got to be down with, certain things. And I just always had this light about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to be outcast from a lot of things unless it is a purpose-led track.
Right.
So I just decided, you know what, God, I'm going to listen to you. So after just dealing with my mom and the estranged relationship for years, and it just is a repeated karmic cycle of just like everlasting suffering and just chaos and destruction. I said, I can't do this for her anymore. And I've distanced myself. I went to a tech boot camp, and I went to Flatiron School,
Mm-hmm.
and I graduated in April as a software engineer. And my life, like, it was just like the whole dynamic of my life changed.
Wow. Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I need a job. I'm in New York. I need to get out of temporary housing because, living in other places like Atlanta and, rent is cheap. It was nothing to get an apartment, my townhome. But
Right.
New York rent is expensive.
Right.
So it caused me and my boys to be in temporary housing. And there's not much help with the housing in New York right now because due to external factors with other individuals that truly need help in the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to figure it out. So I went to a tech boot camp, graduated in April. I said, God said, I want you to teach. I just kept feeling this burning desire for foster children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I was making a phone call down to Georgia to get my court ordered so that I could clear my FAFSA.
Uh-huh.
And I already had started my business. We were Bright Code Academy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And within 30 days of business, I was able to land a contract with the city of Mount Vernon Youth
Wow.
Bureau.
Yeah.
And this was from a prayer that was written down.
Yeah.
So, and I've always wrote down my prayers, and that's why the Lord has always brought me to the person that I need so that we could fulfill this purpose together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally in that moment I was at Tostin Press, my favorite Jamaican halal restaurant in Mount Vernon. And I met the coordinators and the youth deployment coordinator down at the youth bureau. And they were in there and we were talking. And I was talking to another young lady who works there about the boot camp. Like, don't give up. You know, you're going to want to quit, but stick to it, stick to it, stick to it. And what ended up being just a conversation and exchanging contacts with them, they asked me to come in and do tech workforce, learn like a learning course for their fellows.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out to be turned into a whole family.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful because now we're Cora Hack due to some logistics of having academy in your name with
Mm-hmm.
the state that took like a whole big ordeal. So I said, let me name it after my grandmother.
Mm.
And I know that I'm always participating in hackathons. I was in Visa Hackathon
Mm-hmm.
this summer where I formed a group with 3 Indian students and 2 students from the US, and we created an app for Visa.
Wow.
I said, let me name it Cora Hack. And that's how we came about. And yeah, pretty much I got my first contract within 30 days of starting my business. And then that following day that my cohort ended, I started with the Knowledge House as a lead instructor in their digital equity steward. So not only did I teach the summer programs to create curriculum, coding curriculum, but we're doing these tech empowerment days where we're bringing digital literacy to the neighborhood. So we just did one at the Yonkers Library
Mm-hmm.
this weekend. And yeah, we taught digital literacy in the workplace, like spreadsheets. Then we taught intro to programming. We taught them HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then we taught tech careers. So, not believing that you have to travel or leave your local city to
Yeah.
be successful in tech. So yeah, from the music industry to tech.
Desiah. You're the type of guest that makes me, it just confirms that this is the right move, right? Um, you're the type of guest that makes this easy because your story is so compelling. It is so, like, I'm still stuck on like 6 minutes ago. Okay. From the very beginning. And I know, I cannot imagine some of the experiences that you went through to get to where you are. And I'm not a fan of using this word um to describe Black women because I think sometimes the media only gives us this option to be resilient. But, you know, for some of us, that's our story. I mean, it is what it is. But, for those of us who have gone through the experiences um, of creating this experience where we can be resilient, it takes away from the experience that got you there. But you just shared some intimate personal things and some mindset things. And you skipped over some lessons, of course, because we only have so much time together.
Yeah.
But for those who are change makers that work with, for the social workers, for the group home leaders, for the group home staff, the counselors, the therapists, for the judges, for the people who are making decisions, some of them are these listeners. So I know, and I have one person in mind who will email me or send me a quick text after she's heard an episode, and she'll be like, Felicia, oh my God, and from going through the system that sometimes, they have certain rules of when they can't communicate past a certain parameter of their jobs. But I am sitting here just meeting you in person, and I am so grateful for you and for um, the light that you are. You said it yourself, like, I've got this light. If you are not watching this, you have to see her because she's not lying. She has this light, she has this presence, and even though we're not in person, it I can feel it. I can see it. And I'm sitting here like, well, where do I go next? And what do I ask next? Because you just explained how and why um, you went from foster care to tech, right? Or from foster care to the music industry to tech. And as a software engineer, ma'am, you are incredibly smart. Uh,
Thank you.
to say the least, right? To say the least. But not only did you, in 30 days, you have a contract, right? And you're doing some incredible things. And now you're here and you're sharing. But you just said that you just did the program with the city of Mount Vernon. So this 10-day tech program, in collaboration with the city of Mount Vernon, the Youth Bureau, sounds like it's a game changer for so many other youth who may not have ever even known that this exists. So, what would you say would be the most surprising or the most impactful thing, um, or moment that this program has reaffirmed your mission?
Absolutely. It ended up being originally 10 days, but it was extended to 20, which was great. I had more time with the fellows.
Hmm.
And honestly, we're talking about youth from the city of Mount Vernon, okay? Which
Yeah.
is people call it money earning Vernon.
Right. Right. Money
Home of
burning.
Denzel Washington, right?
Yeah.
I'll be sure. And when you're riding down the streets of Mount Vernon, right? It's just one of those things where I just felt like tech was a need here
Hmm.
because there's so much untapped talent. Mount Vernon has so much talent.
Yeah.
And I just felt like when it came to tech, when we're thinking about software engineering, right? The average youth from the city of Mount Vernon is not thinking about going into software engineering
Right.
because we're looking at a tech industry that may have not been inclusive to minorities or underrepresented individuals living in underrepresented communities or circumstances. So I felt like I was the voice. I felt like God gave me the energy kit and the battery pack to bring the opportunities to the youth. And
Hmm.
not only was I able to spend time with these youth, spend time with the government officials down at the youth bureau, but I got everyone excited in Mount Vernon about tech now. You know,
Yeah.
I got youth like, yeah, this is really going to happen for me.
Yeah.
I was able to bring two of my youth from a program to Tech Empowerment Day for the Knowledge House. So I took youth from my program
Yeah.
and brought them over to the Knowledge House as learner support. So within like what 3-4 months, they went through a tech program and now they have work experience.
Mm.
Now they have a mentor,
Yeah.
right? So it's one of those things where I just feel in my heart that I am supposed to be helping the youth. I'm supposed to be helping their parents so
Hmm.
that the house is together financially, emotionally, spiritually. Now we have software engineers, now we have a data scientist, and now we have a cybersecurity analyst. And now we're all in the tech field.
Hmm.
Maybe we can start a tech company together,
Hmm.
build apps as a family,
Right. Right.
right? And that is my goal is for you to never ever experience what I've been through bringing brought to a foreign land all the
Yeah.
way from up north and being left on your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
And it was. So, it's that's just what I'm about. It's my impact is using tech to level up every household, whether it's in Mount Vernon, Westchester, Atlanta, ATL, St. Louis, which is I would love to get out to St. Louis and do some work. Um, so yeah, that's sorry, I know I said a lot.
No, 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 no. Well, I have friends in St. Louis, so
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I used to live out there for a little bit in St. Louis. Man, I have big plans for St. Louis.
You have big plans for St. Louis, and because I can feel that you are the type of person that gets things done, I'm pretty sure that we'll be hearing that you've done what you said you were going to do in St. Louis. And I just, I understand um, the foster care system in Virginia because that is where my career really. I started in corporate America and I didn't like it, and so I shifted and I worked, with foster youth, and I worked for a foster care placement agency, and I did a lot of work with foster youth. So I understand some of the things that you are alluding to. Some of our audience may not understand what that's like, but I'm just gonna, you know, give them a little bit of what you're describing as being away from your family, being away from all that you've known, navigating the psychological, mental, emotional challenges of the disruption from all of that being taken out of your environment. And, we think of our parents and we think like that's supposed to be this. So navigating that. But you, my friend, are challenging and channeling the stereotypical outcome of what happens to someone who's been in care and what happens to someone who has experienced that type of trauma. And it's so funny because this morning I was on Threads and a lady said, she was talking about burnout and talking about resilience and how they are interconnected. And I mentioned that, resilience, all it is, if we could simplify it, is the coping skills that we have to go through the trauma that we experience or go through the hard. Some people don't have like those big T traumas, they have little traumas, but, you know, everything that it takes to be a business owner, everything that it takes to propose to cities, everything that it takes to lead a team, everything that it takes to smile and engage with people and still have a heart that is better and not bitter, and to have a heart for, like, I just want to give you your flowers right now, Desiah, because and I'm so grateful to just have this moment to meet you and to encounter you and to encourage you and, drop some, oh my goodness, um, the ability to share with my audience of who you are and hoping that this message reaches further and farther and wider, and that you have even more people knocking on your door so that you can grow and scale and expand into the places that you are destined and ordained to be in. um, I think that, you sharing how foster care shaped the way for you to approach your challenges is going to really encourage somebody today, right? They're really going to look at what they've perceived as a challenge and consider, oh, wait a minute now, Desire just told me a whole earful
Yeah.
of, what she's experienced as a young person, and now she's come out of that. But you just emphasize mentorship as a key component of your work and your programming. How has that helped your students envision a brighter future for themselves?
Well, it's helped them a lot because that now they have somebody like, they're a little younger than me, but I understand like their day to day. So just having me around, they're like, Desire, you know, I'm excited about this, but I'm really passionate about that. And I'm like, listen, be passionate about what it is that you're passionate about and take these tech skills to see how you can add and innovate the industry that you're in.
Hmm.
I tell them that all the time. So just being able to like call them and be able to bring two of my students to Tech Empowerment Day on a Saturday, they were happy.
Right.
They were excited. Not only were they excited to be there, but they were excited to learn
Yeah.
So it was like they immediately hopped into learner mode. And I'm like, hey, you're supposed to be helping me too. But it was great because it's just having someone there.
Hmm.
Like I didn't have anyone just picking me out like single, like, you know,
Hmm.
I always had to advertise myself or give value as to why you should invest in me.
Hmm.
But being able to like be intuitively driven to know that,
Yeah.
it's even more powerful because they're like, God sent you to me, even down to the professionals at the city hall.
Yeah.
They felt like I was angels, like heaven sent. And I
Oh,
feel like that about them.
yeah.
So that's what my mentorship is about.
Yeah.
Like, is even if they didn't want to stay in my tech program, you're still one of my babies. Like I
Yeah.
have a baby now. He wants to be a firefighter so bad. So every time I hear firefighter, it's like I'm channeling firefighter energy for him to
Hmm.
where it's coming and showing up in the flesh. And
Right.
I'm able to say, here, there you go. And
Right.
like that's what my mentorship is all about. It's
Hmm.
about you being connected to me because anything connected to me is connected to God. And I move and I operate in my spirituality purposely and intentional. So yes.
You are such a powerful young woman, and I can only imagine the impact and influence that you're having on all of the people that you're encountering, all of their lives. Can you share with us what are the names of your programs and share with us what they do and how it works for those that go through them?
So we have 4 tracks. We have a software engineer
Hmm.
track, cybersecurity, LLM and AI, and data science.
Yeah.
And I believe I mentioned cybersecurity. But what that enables an individual to do is pick a learning path,
Hmm.
learn the basics, learn the digital literacy behind that track field,
Hmm.
and they can take quizzes and do assignments. And then they have access to a mentorship community hub where there's mentors, there's professionals, there's volunteers, everyone in there,
Hmm.
so that you're never alone. You're always there. I also try to make it um, a group for impact. So not only just education, but hey, if I'm bored, I could come here. I don't have to be alone. I don't have to go out and seek this friend that I know isn't good for me. I can just be in chat here,
Yeah.
and I can meet up. So we have some networking events coming up where we're doing mixers and parties and things like that for age appropriate.
Hmm.
And yeah, once you're in my whole Cora Hack family and you choose a path,
Yeah.
I'm there for you, regardless if you want to change the data science or whatever. And then we have a program that teaches all three as an exploratory.
I'm so intrigued. A few years ago, I was a part of the um, active fellow as at the Strategic Data Project in at Harvard University, and so there's a whole network of data scientists that I have access to, and I can't wait to share with them who you are and what you do, and hopefully be able to send some additional volunteers your way. I don't work as a scientist daily, but or I have a love for data and data science and data analysis and data analytics. And so you're talking my language. You got me all excited for other reasons. And I'm just so excited that they get access to this too. Now, with your work and how you've worked with the government already, if there's another either nonprofit leader or change maker who's curious about what that looks like, what might you share with them for advice on navigating something similar?
Well, for individuals who are interested in the entrepreneur track and you're wanting to land these government contracts, right? You have to figure out your story. First, I give three, like a motto, right? You have to be inspired, for one. You have
Hmm.
to be brave, and then you have to be resilient
Okay.
because getting these government contracts require all three. You have to advocate your inspiration. Why are you here? What can you do to help the candidates or the individuals that we are servicing, right? So if you're going to a government agency, you have to know that agency. You have to know that department. I would get familiar with their names. I would go on the website, start getting to know them, go on their LinkedIn's, do a background check. Make
Okay.
sure this is good for you too,
Right.
right? And if you have access to their data and their grant funding that is uh, publicized in strategic planning, use that in your proposal, in your pitch, to let them know why you offer the value that you offer.
Yeah.
So, like, that's my biggest thing. And then you walk in there and act like you know them already.
All right.
Like, I noticed, I did a little bit of research and they're like, oh, she's serious.
Yeah.
She's dependable. She's consistent. She knows what she wants.
Right.
Because they want to make sure that you're somebody dependable. Because this is grant funding. They have to make sure that you can give what it is that you're offering before they give you that vendor number down at the controller's office. Okay? So it's just one of those things. Like, you just have to come in there and know what it is that you're doing with your proposal, know them on an intimate level, get to know them,
Mm-hmm.
and just be kind and just come in with that light. Like, you're the one that was sent to help.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I love it. I love you're my kind of people. I love your confidence. I love your, the knowledge that you're so open to sharing with people. I know that your words are going to bless someone today. Now, I heard you say earlier in our conversation that you and a team, this wasn't scripted, of course, because you just brought that on into the conversation about creating some apps for Visa. So
Yeah.
I have to circle back, Desiah, for you to share with us what that was like and what's happening with those apps now.
Yeah. So the Visa Hackathon, that was this summer.
Hmm.
And I was originally on a team, so they assign you a team, right? But it's like so many people all over the world.
Hmm.
So I ended up having to form my own team. So what I did was I went to the contact list that was given to us through our portal,
Hmm.
and I emailed every single person for the position or the role, whether it was technical or non-technical, that I needed. So I noticed I had more engineers on my team, but I didn't have a program manager, right,
Hmm.
who could actually help us, like, with the logistics of what the app should look like or what the app should offer. Because when you just have technical skills, right, you tend to, like, not think about the user research, right? That
Right.
goes to that. You just start building stuff, and there's like no real planning stage. So I was looking for program managers, and I just utilized my resources, and I did a mass email. I told them this is where we were at. We need a program manager, and then I was able to form my team. We got on Zoom. We some of the resources that was provided to Visa we weren't able to use by the deadline time, so we emphasized, and we created an app that created or suggested eco-friendly grocery options based on the customer's demeanor. So they were a single person, maybe living in a higher income bracket, we gave them those luxury dessert options that were eco-friendly, instead of you going to the grocery store and getting a Haagen-Dazs that's overpriced,
Hmm.
you know, or the average family who lives maybe at a I wouldn't say a poverty or a middle class, like someone in between, like someone like me, who's like working up towards that middle class, right?
Hmm.
And I'm giving them all the suggestions on toiletries,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
So it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds exciting. And it sounds like you are going to continue in some groundbreaking initiatives, not just for the youth of New York, but also, as you said, in Atlanta and St. Louis, and in other areas. Now, if there are companies, organizations, corporations who are interested in partnering with you so that, maybe you white label or license a program. I'm just throwing some things out there, right? Or maybe that you can consult with them on how they can, build something like what you've built. How can they get in contact with you, Desiah?
They can get in contact with me at support@corahack.com. Yes.
I love it. Okay, so what's the one thing you want to leave with our audience today?
If you get an intuitive download or an idea, that's just not something that just comes and goes. That's a download and whatever you believe in from that higher power. That is a call that you need to answer.
Yeah.
Once you hear God and you sit in it, write it down, please. The power of writing down your prayers or your manifestations is golden. Watch how the universe will bring that to you within 30, 60, 90, 120 days. I have not seen where I have written a prayer down and it didn't come quicker than I thought it would. I was saying that.
Yeah.
And you have to believe in it. You have to remember, and you have to wake up every day like, I wrote this prayer down, and this is what the Lord wants me to do, and He's going to bring me there. There's nothing in the 3D that can stop me from getting to that point. So I wanted to leave that with people because that's the engine behind everything that I do is prayer and writing it down.
I love it. I thank you again for sharing with us about Cora Hack, all that you're doing with the youth of New York, your journey from Flatiron School to building Bright Code, now Cora Hack. And you have an incredible story full of wisdom, full of innovation, and I'm sure you're going to continue to change the world.
Absolutely.
I'm
partnering with, I just joined Rotary. And what we're going to do is one of my special projects is going to be some app development and things for foster care youth or youth in general, or just anybody. We're going to be building some apps for mindfulness, awareness, digital literacy, and things like that. So I'm really excited for the next level of like organizations that I'm joining for social impact. So.
Incredible work. Thank you again, Desiah.
Thank you.
Hey, Changemaker, real quick before you go, if today's episode helped you in some way, the best way to thank me is to head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel, and leave